Well, I want to read a poem, but I also want to talk about, what's going on in the world. It's a really weird sort of existential threat that we're all seeing. Well, actually, no, we're not all seeing. That's the trouble, isn't it? This is the marvel of propaganda. Some people say, oh, propaganda doesn't exist. There's some sort of purist, ultra-left way of viewing it and saying that it doesn't have an effect. And I think that's pretty stupid, really, because in the space of 4 years, is it 2018, when Trump launched basically what was war on China and all Chinese effectively, which means me. 2018, and I know that Obama performed his pivot to Asia in 2012, which really set the whole thing in motion. They were serious. This was the American and the US oligarchy, plutocracy, them in charge. They've got it in for us. They've always hated us. They resent the fact that we're here. They say that the planet's overpopulated. Stanley Johnson actually said that there should only be 10 to 15 million people in Great Britain. Now, considering there are 66 million of us here, it does make you wonder, well, what happens to the other 50 million plus? So these are not benevolent folk. They objectify us. They see us as things to be consumed, things to be cannibalized. And hey, look, they've actually got the power to do something about it. And I'm just looking at everybody sort of like rabbits or deer in the headlight. They don't know what's coming down. They're aware that there are these lights that are on. And that saying that's not the light at the end of the tunnel, that's the train coming straight for you. I think this is the way we are now. This is where we are, and there's no one fighting back. I mean, it's incredible. We're supposed to be a democracy, and we have the two right wings of the same plane, the same crashing plane that Lawrence Ferlinghetti talked about in his poem, A Bird with Two Right Wings. And that's where we are. It's like smoke and mirrors. We're being deceived. We're getting direct reversals of events. We're getting projection onto China that's never dropped a bomb in 42 years. The last time China was at war with anyone, it was with Vietnam for a few months, and that was awful. And thank goodness it was over relatively quickly, and there's never been a repeat of it, thank goodness. And now I'm just seeing just so much it's just poisonous. It makes you wonder what's in these people's minds, that there's an obvious attempt to transfer all the images we've seen of Abu Ghraib, all that sexualized violence, the war crimes, the rape by Americans of people in the Middle East, Afghanistan, killing people. It's just everywhere. And here they are doing their damnedest to try and pin a blood libel on Chinese, and the Chinese have just gotten up off their feet. They've crawled out of the wreckage of what they were left with after over 100 years of the Opium Wars, when Britain, the East India Company, and the army just all acted in concert to force mass-produced opium onto the people of China from 1839, turning what had before that been an aristocratic addiction, because remember the Dutch were growing opium in in Indonesia before that. But Britain, applying mass production industrial revolution techniques to the growing of opium, basically turned China at gunpoint. They forced this on them. They turned it into a nationwide addiction. So then you also had like the rape of Nanking. You had these wars, the Korean War, where we now know that America, was threatening China, the young communist nation. They were dropping fleas with all sorts of bio-warfare onto Chinese. So now, really since Nixon and Kissinger, I mean, they were doing it for their own reasons, obviously, not particularly altruistic, but it worked. It gave China the chance to get back onto their feet, back to being a strong nation. It's taken a long time. If you think they're only 40 years into their modern era, and they've caught up amazingly. I'm quite excited looking at this new generation of Chinese who they're just beautiful. They care about the world, they're intelligent, they're educated, and there's this character assassination going on, especially now that Biden is spending $500 million a year purely just on trashing China. That's without the billions that they're putting into their war machine, because they're intent on killing more non-white people. Well, they did white people, didn't they, in Ukraine, managing to get a war going that had started with Victoria Nuland, F the EU, in 2014, and there was that awful coup that went on there. I just remember the strongest images for me were of the people being burnt by the right-wing Ukrainians in Odessa in the trade union house. I mean, those images just haunt me. They just stay with me. Oliver Stone's made a great film, Ukraine on Fire, where he explains a lot of this, gives a lot of background. But the lies that are going on just all round from it's the whole of the establishment. But the worst thing was the fourth estate, which is supposed to hold the other three planks of our democracy to account, suddenly went along with it. You can't get a word in. I've obviously burnt my bridges with the BBC and the Guardian, and they come out with complete bullshit. I would really, really like the chance for someone to do a point-by-point takedown of everything they say. Everything's twisted, I might do a little series taking points by points, but that's it for now.